What's going on? What's going on?
Hey, what's up? What's up?
I'm, I'm Sean.
I'm Troy.
This is Tapped In.
How's everybody doing out there?
Yeah, appreciate you guys tapping in with us. Again, if you're watching this for the first time, please subscribe, like, share channel on YouTube and on Facebook, on TikTok, Instagram, wherever you can find us at. Help us get those numbers up.
All right.
All right.
No doubt. Let's do it. So what we got for this week, man? This was seemed like it was a fast weekend. The weekend kind of flew by, man.
Yeah, I think what happened was, last Thursday when we was doing our live, like right after that, there was a wonderful game on TV that night. The shootout.
Oh,
it was the Ravens against the Bengals, and after that game, everything just kind of took off, man. Weekend started early. Man.
Oh, that game was special to you, huh?
Oh, yeah, it was special, man. It's special, man. Boy, man, Lamar Jackson ball.
Man, he is. You can't deny that.
Nah. He looked. He's a two-time MVP, and he looked like the best version of himself right now.
What you think? Contribute to that, man, for him being
putting in the work, man. So you think over the summertime, when some of the guys came back from training camp, they was like they didn't even recognize who he was because he had lost so much weight.
Oh wow.
So he had lost like 25 pounds from last year. So he quicker, but then he put in the time. You can tell he's putting in the time in the passing game, looking at film and being able to make the throws. And like right now, he right in the top in passing in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
And this is a guy who they was trying to tell him shut up and be a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Thought that was where his skill set was best at. So like right now, for him to be for the most dynamic, I would say, I was a huge Michael Vick fan, but he's the most dynamic running quarterback we've ever seen in the game. And now you put him at the top in the game right now, top 5 arm. So best running quarterback with a top 5.
Yeah, I could agree with that. Being an Eagles fan, man, if you're looking at the stats, Jalen, man, he's up there right now. When you look stats, for them this far in the season. So, but yeah, I'm not taking anything from Lamar, man. He's an awesome quarterback. He's exciting to watch. Like you said, I was a Vic fan. Randall Cunningham, I'm an Eagle fan. He's watching Randall. So he was the prototype. He reminds me of those type cats. And then he running alongside Derrick Henry, man. And what this guy's doing, I don't understand that. Like how you could take a Saquon, you could take a Derrick Henry, who seems to be, especially Derrick Henry, though, he seemed to be like on the back end of his career.
Right.
Man, you think he just got drafted? Like, way he's playing is unreal.
It is, man. It's crazy because I've been watching Lamar play for these last couple of years, and literally until today when I seen it pop up in an article, dude on 27. Right. So you got a Lamar Jackson. I don't think he's in his prime. Right. And then you bring in Derrick Henry, who if this defense do what they know them to do, which is actually our Achilles heel right now is our defense, man. Right. Passing game, like we can't stop nothing back there. But what's got him energized, I think, he's even making that something special.
Yeah.
He think he get one of them things, and it's just like, okay, I'm 100% in. I'm 10 toes down on this one.
Think y'all got Pittsburgh coming up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll watch the Pittsburgh game. See, that's your arch rival. We're going to see how y'all perform against that. But
yeah, I heard Tomlin called him. They called him on the weekend when they played Washington on Sunday, and they was trying to compare Jalen Daniels to Lamar Jackson. He's like, hold. He said, that's Mr. Jackson. It's 2-time MVP.
Respect.
Pump your brakes, man.
Tomlin said that.
He said, and we got to go see Mr. Jackson next week. So
respect. He showed him a little bit of respect.
Right.
Which is earned.
Right. He earned it.
Yeah, no doubt.
So Kawhi gonna stay on my soapbox and my rating soapbox. We can get something this week.
Yeah. So I had a question this week, man. I was thinking, and you know, routine. Well, not even gonna say routine. I like to finish my week or start my week, depending on how you look at the calendar. I always, like to hit the service, man. To definitely go and show my respects and to my high power. What I mean. So I like to go, and fellowship. And I was thinking because I've been faithful to my ministry, my church for a really long time, and the question was coming up like, why? Why do I stay in this? So with that, thinking, I was thinking like when you look for a religious leader, or you look for somebody to, kind of guide you, and your family, what are some of the things that you look for? You know,
Like for me, man, like when I go, I feel like if they are a religious leader, they 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 ordained by God, you know, and so there's some level of wisdom and knowledge that comes from that, and their ability to be able to connect with everybody who's there, right? So if I go and I listen to somebody give a sermon, or you know um, at a church, uh, and nothing about that hits me directly, you know, or I can't pull anything from that. It's just like I feel like if they truly being led, there's a morsel of some kind of substance that could take from that to apply it to my life, right? And if I got to stretch, dig, and pull to try to find something in there, it's just like, okay, I'm not connecting with this leader. This leader isn't for, maybe not be for me, right? But also, you know, a transparency,
that's key. Yeah.
transparency, and being honest about the journey, right? Because so many times when you first when you get into a religion, the people that probably got you there have been in it for a long time. And so there's maybe not as much grace given, because it's just like you a baby and they try to feed you a steak, right? Well, if I'm a baby, you got to feed me baby food. I got to get used to that, or I might even need milk, right? Before you can expect for me to comprehend and understand and move in the way that you're moving right now. You've had time to get to that place. Give me some grace to be able to get there at whatever pace God want to bring me along.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that grace is a big thing because, like you said, if we would be honest, if they would be honest, and be a little more transparent and say, hey, when I was this age, or when I was at this stage in my marriage, or when especially when you're talking to them one on one, or you're seeking some type of counsel, that transparency will help you forgive yourself easier too, because you're looking at a seasoned believer or a seasoned leader, and you say, okay, well, if they can do this, I should be able to not have these pitfalls. But if they would be honest, they would tell you, hey, I had these pitfalls along the way too. And not only that, I think another big indicator for me is how they interact with their personal family. Because, most religious leaders, if you can tell if they garner that type of respect from their kids, from their wife, I've seen a lot where the a pastor travel by herself, and then the family don't want to go along with them. You can tell the contention between the first lady and the pastor. So it's really hard to lead if you can't lead first in your household.
Right.
So to me, that's always not. I'm not gonna call it a red flag, because we know that if you believe in that adversary, that he's gonna always attack the closest thing to you. But I believe that you should be able to deal with those issues in a way where that respect is still there. And so when the people on the outside looking in, they say, okay, I want to be led by this person because of how he leads his family, you know.
And I think that's a really good quality. I mean, and that's a telltale sign because I mean, um, you know, marriage is like Christ in the church too. You know what I mean? So, it's just like, okay, if your marriage, it doesn't look like it's yoked, equally yoked,
Mhm. That's it.
then because it starts there. Like when you go home, that should be your peace,
Mhm.
right? And so if when you go home, it's not peaceful, then you're dealing with all of these extra things while you're at home. How do you get in tune to be able to receive whatever message that it is that God wants you to deliver to the people,
Okay. Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So it's just really more of an alignment thing. Does
Mhm.
does your life align with what you're trying to teach me?
Mhm.
Or expound my relationship with, right? Be, and knowing that it's always going to be a work in progress. There's different seasons where there may be different things that you may need help with, but um, being under somebody who you can see is doing the work
Mhm.
alongside you, but also being transparent with their journey and how they're pursuing it.
Mhm.
I think that in and of itself is encouraging as well because you sometimes you may need to hear that so that you can give your own self a little bit of grace, right? Like when a person that you respect and look up to says, "Hey, it's been hard for me,"
Mhm. Exactly. And that, yeah.
you know what I
And
mean?
that's what I was alluding to earlier.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to be able to give yourself, because I think that's one of the big things that we all wrestle with is self-condemnation,
Mhm.
and we're human.
Right.
And that person that we're looking to, the leaders, they're human too.
Mhm.
And they, and to be honest, sometimes they need to have somebody to confide into and talk to. And I think that's another thing to look at too, is the company that they keep. You know what I mean? Because I watched a lot of strong men fall by having the wrong type of guys. And we believe in discernment. We believe in being able to judge the spirit by the spirit. So when you look at some of these mega church pastors and things like that, when they fall, I always look at, well, who was around them and what was that discernment at? Because if you're around them with no strings attached and no motives, then you're supposed to pull them up. Say, hey, because you can tell when somebody's moving different.
Mhm.
And I'm not a pastor or anything close to it, but the people that I'm close to in my life, if we have a relationship and we have open dialogue and we spend time together, I can tell if something's off. And because I had that discernment, and plus we're connected in a way. So I think it's important the type of people that they hang around, because I've seen some leaders that's at well, I mean, just recently. I don't want to really name names, but everything they had with
Okay.
Puffy, that. Well, you had certain leaders that was hanging in these atmospheres. Where was his people at? That's like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. To say to I'm not gonna say to check, but like to question what. Okay, talk me through this. Why do you think this is something that you should be doing?
right,
You
right,
know what I mean?
right.
And but also be humble enough to say maybe you're right on this one. Maybe I'm going a little bit too far. Um, and if not, maybe who knows? Maybe the people around him did say that, and he was like, "Nah, I'm good. I think I'm in tune. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah, I mean, I won't be around the baby girl."
Right,
Like,
right. I don't think that's the type of thing, man. But anyway, so look, I was in Atlanta when we used to when I was in the music scene and we used to rap and we used to travel. I was in Atlanta and one weekend I stayed at T-Boz and Matt Tenholm, who was there, who was doing some recording, me and a couple of fellas. And this pastor, he pulled up and he introduced himself. Cool guy, man. But he was, I don't know, I felt that his spirit was right. And he put us in the car and was riding, and he was riding through Atlanta, and he was pointing out different strip clubs. And he was telling me, he said, listen, he said, yeah, I go to that one, this and that. And he told me how he would go in the strip club. And he said that he would minister to young girls, go in there, you know what I mean? Yeah, tip them, talk to her, said that bust out crying. Next thing you know, they're in this church. He said, we can't be scared to go in certain places. And I didn't feel like he was feeding me BS. I really felt that God had equipped him to do that. I mean, and not all of us, because I I couldn't do that.
Right.
But listening to him and seeing how his church interacted with him and his people,
Mhm.
he said that was his call. He said, you know,
And so like if that, but again, that might not be his vice, right? So him going into a strip club and ministering to young ladies might not trigger something that make him go off track, right? But uh maybe him going into a casino and he had a gambling problem and trying to talk to people at a casino, and then it lead him to gambling, which leads, you know what I mean, to him mismanaging his money, putting his family, taking money from the church, stuff like that. Like, okay, that's not an assignment that I think God, you know what I mean, gonna send you on.
Right.
When, you know what I mean, you're too tempted, right? But if in this scenario, if you didn't ever struggle with, you know, strippers or the fantasies
Right.
that came behind it, or you wanting to take these strippers home, if that's not something that you dealt with, who am I to say that that's not, you know, what your mission and your assignment is?
If that was your pastor, you know, when people, you know, we believe let not your good be evil spoken of and things of that nature. But when if people come back and say, hey, I saw your pastor here, I saw your pastor, do you think you could continue to follow someone if he provided you with an explanation that was
I don't, in that particular scenario, no, because I think when you get when you get elevated to a certain level, it's like the and people will use argument, you know, like, you know, Mary. Listen, Mary Magdalene, who's a prostitute in the Bible, and you know how Jesus went to her, but oh, he didn't go to where she was doing it in the act, right? He saw her and knew that that's what he did and ministered to her that way,
right,
but he wasn't in the whorehouse.
right,
You know what I mean?
right,
And so I think that there's a not a fine line, but I think there's a line where as a religious leader, like you have to have a certain level of respect because your congregation do have to answer to questions like that. You know, it's just like, you know, I mean, if the guy's married, you know what I mean? Like even in that scenario, how does it make his wife feel
right.
that he's in there? Yeah, you say you're not looking, but you a man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You see, you're not going in there with a blindfold on. You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, well, how does that make her feel? And it's not even about that. It's about your representation of Christ and what you're trying to bring people to. And I get it that most of the work, most if not all of the work, is supposed to be done outside of the church. But I think that there's a line there.
I don't know why this conversation going there, but I want to it's it's funny how okay, so I wasn't raised in the street, but I spend a good deal of time in the street. I'm connected, and even through some of my businesses, I'm still connected in the streets.
Mhm.
And it's almost like if we can't go back, because we don't know where he came from. Maybe he was a pimp.
Right.
before he gave his life over. So, and he's familiar with that scene. So
Right.
it's almost like you can't come from being a crackhead or being, addicted and be scared of the trap house because you can identify with them. You know what they feel. You know what they're going through. You know why.
Mhm.
So who else better to go in there for somebody that has been delivered, if you truly have been delivered from it, because you understand it.
Right.
And that may be the angle that he's going through. Now, hopefully he's not going by himself because, we always supposed to go paired up in threes and you got to have somebody, covering you. But I think a lot of times the thing that we escape from or get delivered from, we try to stay away from it. But
It's like
why
the
not?
strength.
Why not go back? Because you speak that language.
So, so I agree with you on that. Like that, I think our past help shape kind of the things that actually prepare us for whatever we're supposed to do. You know what I mean, for God.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the role of a pastor is a little bit different,
Okay.
right? So I think he could have deacons and stuff like that in his church that did do that, that did go to the trap house, that did go to the strip club.
Mm-hmm.
But for and but to have the leader still doing that, it's like football.
Mm-hmm.
Your head coach ain't playing, right?
Yeah.
He's coaching.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
He's covering. He's watching. He's looking at the fields. Let you know.
Calling plays. Let you
Okay.
hear. You know what I mean? But he's not actually in the game. He's not playing in the game,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got to execute. His job is to oversee and to move forward and get wins.
Ah, I like that.
You know what I
That's
mean?
it. I like that. I like that.
So-
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It took us a long way to get.
Hey, man, but it makes sense.
Right, right.
It makes sense. So I get it, y'all.
Cool, cool. So what'd you say about it? You said something about a pimp. It reminded me of something. But anyway, so like in today's age, man, tell me something. When did being a man, like just doing man stuff, when did that become a flex?
That's a great question, man. You know what? It's funny you said that because I think a lot of guys flex because they finally leveling up. And I think doing regular stuff at an age that you're supposed to be doing it at, any type of growth is a flex. To not a flex to say I'm flexing on flexing on my ops or anything. But
Right.
anytime you level up is a flex.
Mhm.
But that can only go so far when you're doing what's expected of you for your age and for if you're a man, there's certain things that a man should just qualities he should possess, things he should do. Get up and go on to work, that's not a flex.
Right.
Having a roof over your head or providing a roof, that's not a flex.
Mhm.
Now, granted, you're doing what you're supposed to do,
Mhm.
but it's not a flex. But if the person that you're providing for or the person that's with you has low standards and they haven't seen anybody level up just to that level, the basics,
Mhm.
then it's a flex. And we see so much of that now because it's a lack of leveling up and it's a lack of expectation. I know years ago to date a female, and I'm taking it back to the 70s and 80s. A guy had to pull up in a car. He had to pull up in a car. You gonna take me out? Oh, you gonna come pick me up? Nowadays, it's not a requirement. You don't even have to have a vehicle.
Right.
So
You show up in the Uber.
show up in the Uber. Well, I mean, if you're paying for it, though.
Right, right.
But it's just different, man. Like you seen the qualifications, man, go down so low
Right.
that I mean, you take a guy that I'm gonna say mid-30s, and he gets his first, apartment. he put a a bed in there, get him a TV. I congratulate him because I taught anybody on, like I said, that growth. But if you get on social media and you flexing about it, now I'm looking at you some type of way because it's the basics.
Yes.
It's what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
But look how many people in the comment section that would applaud him and tell him, "Oh, you're doing it."
So what, man? So what did that say about like where we at? Like when, so let's just say he don't. Let's say he not one that flex. Let's just say he started dating this girl, and she get on social and she be like, "I just met this man. We've been going out for let's say let's say 2 months." And she just went over to his house for the first time. She's saying, "Look, he got his own car, he got his own house, he got an actual bed, not an air mattress. I was able to sleep in his room and nobody popped up. He let me lay in his room by himself while he was playing." That is crazy. Like while he playing the video game. It's like, so he might be 25, right? And there's a lot of older guys that play video games. It's just like, I mean, like I stopped playing video games early. So let's scratch that. But like all of those, and then the last thing was like I'm gonna have to go back over here again.
Mhm.
It's like, you do you not expect that from the men that you date?
That, ladies and gentlemen, is why one of the reasons we start this podcast, because we want to empower one another. And I think that shows how there was a lack of communication or a lack of presence from a father being in that household. And I say that because my daughter, always been going to a restaurant. You gonna go to a nice restaurant. I'm always gonna I exposed her at a young age to different cultural things, you know what I mean? So if a guy come with the very bare minimum, it's not going to be impressive to her because she said, okay, I seen my dad, dude, he's done this for me ever since I was a kid. I can remember. So, but if you take a young lady whose daddy wasn't present and she's more into the attention, and he has these things going along with that, then yeah, it is a flex. I mean, it's big to her because she hasn't seen it and hasn't been introduced to it at all.
Right.
That. But if you come from a household where your dad did it, your brothers, if you have older siblings, they handling that business. So okay, he's leveling up, but how's his character? How does he treat me? What, like, those things are way more important than the material things, because those material things, if you're gainfully employed man, you should have those things anyway. So I don't know. I mean, and I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. You want the young man to be positioned. You know what I mean? But I think that's just a small portion of what he has to offer.
So I'm gonna go off script on this one. So you just mentioned something about character and stuff like that. So it's men and women watching this, but this is specifically uh for women. Like when a lot of times what's going to attract you to a man is going to be what he looked like, right? His swag, or make, what I mean, or he just attracted to, right? So then the next thing, like that'll get him, that allows him to approach you, right? Um, the next thing is his personality. What is his personality? Personality will get you engaged, right? He might be funny, you know what I mean, or he might say some smooth, slick stuff, that gets you intrigued. But don't be fooled by those things, right? Because the really the last ingredient of those things that will let you know where that relationship is supposed to go is after you get to know what kind of characteristics does he display.
That's it.
Right. And that is the thing that will make somebody stay for the long haul is the type of characteristics that they show. And you know, the personality is going to be the personality, but your characteristics, which is like your moral values and how you treat other people, and your, you know, what I mean, your expectations of yourself, the expectations of other people, how you want to be treated, how you going to treat other people. Like those are the things that you can really build a relationship on, not personality and not looks.
No, it's the character, and it's another C word. It's the consistency. So I would tell any young lady not to overcommit too quickly, because you can fix some things for a small period of time, but being in different scenarios, different situations, just going out with a person and seeing how he interact in a room full of people, or if there's ever any type of confrontation, how, you know, does he get out of character, or does he turn into somebody else, or when he around his friends, you know, some females, they'll commit quick, and then the friends come in from out of town and realize it's a whole different guy. Because now, so sometimes you have to sit back and kind of get to know a person, and not what they tell you, not the things that come out of their mouth, but just by watching them and consistently being themselves over a period of time, because they'll show you.
Right. For sure,
They'll show you.
for sure. And so, so after you done all of that, you know, walked up to you, and you know, personality got you. Now it's first date. What's the expectation level out here these days on the first date, man? Like what, like to you, man? What would you? What's your dollar limit? What you doing on the first date?
Man, listen, I've been married 27 years, come December 13th. So I'm far removed from the dating scene.
Right.
Now, before I met my wife, I had a motto, and don't judge me. My motto was the double deuce and a cheeseburger. That's what that's what it was. I was young. We was young.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll pick you up. We're going to ride. We're gonna pop a bottle. I'm gonna take you to McDonald's, and we're gonna talk, and we're gonna laugh and chop it up. And from there, you know, we'll decide if we want to see each other. Now, I said it in to be funny, but that was really, yeah. I'm not gonna over invest, and I don't know you yet.
Right. And that's a good thing, because I'm thinking, I mean, I'm married for 21 years this past October, so been a while since I've been in it. But you know, just kind of thinking of it, it's just like, you know, the expectations from women on men is wow, right? But as a man, I almost feel like if you're going out on a first date, you you go to a place that you would normally go to,
Mhm.
right? And your lane. You know what I mean? Because okay, what if your lane is, let's just say, check,
Uh-huh.
right? That's the lane that only with your lifestyle and how you are right now, that's how you operate. You want to go out for a decent dinner, you going to Cheddar's, you know what I mean? You got Outback and stuff like that in that kind of same category. But you're not gonna go out there Ruth Chris like once or twice a week.
Right.
Right.
It's not sustainable.
Right. It's not
sustainable.
it's not sustainable. And so, you know, it's just like, why, you know, why is that pressure there for me? Because I'm lying. Like, if that's not my lane, and that's not what I do in my life. Now are you going to expect for me to be doing this a couple nights a week?
I think it's become competitive. It's one of those things. Okay, she's a, you know, she's a catch. I want her on my team, but so does this guy and this one, and I know what I'm up against, so I'm gonna try to wow her.
Mhm.
And that's what it's come down to now.
Right.
But like you said, it's not something you can maintain, and God forbid if it does work and you end up, you know, walking down the aisle. If you start off at Wolfbridge anniversary, you can't take her to where you took her first date.
Right.
You dumbing down, you got to go up, so it only goes up. So yeah, I think just stand in your lane, and I think um if a female demands it from you, it's one thing if you really she's special after a few days and she's special, and you say, you know, I want to do something special.
Mhm.
That's one thing. But for nowadays, from the way I hear it, it sounds like they demanding you're going to take me here. Or I'm not going. You can't take me here. that would automatically disqualify you with me personally. Not that I couldn't do it,
Right, right.
I don't want to do it. Not if you demanding me, because if we starting off like this, then what is it going to be? You know, I mean, months down the road, man.
So no trips down to Miami on first date.
No, you ain't getting flued out. You ain't getting, you're not getting flued out the first.
You
Nah.
gotta be careful. I mean, if you fly, y'all better be flying together because you can't fly nobody out no more post anything.
Oh, that's it.
You can't fly it out. They gotta fly themselves. You might can fly 'em back, but you go flying out.
I would love for just some of the single women or women that's still like dating now to, you know, even chime in to tell us like what or is an expectation, you know. And I was reading some articles and just I think it was a Facebook post, and you know, some women they're still into walks in the park, you know, picnics and things that of that nature, where you can really sit down and engage and conversate and get to know somebody. And now I don't consider myself a romantic, but I would like stuff like that. You know, it's quiet. We can kind of chill, and I can find out if you find me intriguing or not. We can laugh and you know. But look, if I take you to a club, take you out to eat, take you to a club, and all of your friends walking up to you talking, I might talk to you a good 10 minutes of the night. It's felt like a lost cause with me.
And honestly, I think I mean that's really like a cheat code for you know what I mean, just finding out if you connect. You know what I mean? Like I think a date should be revolved around the ability to be able to have conversation, right? To see if you're even compatible, you know what I mean? To see if you're even compatible. Because like if you go to a movie, you're not talking for 2 hours.
But
Right? You're not, you know what I mean? And if you're talking in the movie, you're annoying, you know what I mean?
right.
You know, so it's just like, you know, just, you know, like I think being creative um on a first date, like a picnic or, you know what I mean? Or a museum, you know what I mean? Something that shows a little bit of culture and, you know what I mean? Something different. You know, I think those, but also gives you things to be able to talk about. You know, just to see kind of where y'all, you know, what level y'all both were on. And kind of bring some depth to the conversation. You know, so I think, you know, if anything, with a first date, it should be revolved around places where you can kind of get a feel for who that person really is.
So because we have teenagers and young adults, how soon is too soon for your son or daughter to bring somebody new home to meet mom and dad? Like, is that do you feel like it's a time frame? Do they have to be the one for them to actually bring them around, or do you want to know everybody that they're kind of talking to or considering?
I mean, anybody that they want to hang, that they trying to go hang, like grab dinner with or something like that, or they meeting them uh at a game, you know what I mean? Like I want to know who that is because that's somebody that you're hanging out with, right? I don't have to see them, but I want to know. I want to know who it is.
Okay.
Right. You know what I mean? They don't have to. I don't need to meet them or whatever. But if you talking about, okay, this is my girlfriend, like, okay, yeah. Or it's my boyfriend, okay, yeah. We need to meet.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, we need to meet because you gonna be trying to go places and hang out. And, you know what I mean? I want to make sure this person, you know what I mean? I want to see the character of this person for myself, right? And so that's what that allows me to be able to do. So again, going back to the first date, we can treat this thing like a first date. You know what I mean? When they come, it's going to be a dinner or in some kind of environment where you can't hide. And
Right.
we gonna have these we gonna talk, right? And I'm gonna see, you know, how you are. If I can't get something out of you, I know somebody else who can, you know.
So how much does it play into it when they drop that last name and that bloodline is a bloodline that, let's say if their reputation, you know, they say your daughter bring a guy home and he introduced himself and he said, you know, I'm such and such. And you realize, oh, I know his uncles, I know his, and they don't have the best reputation.
Mhm.
How much does that affect how much you encourage your son or daughter to. I don't know why this is popping up, but this is real life. This is stuff that happens, you know.
I mean, you say, I mean, it is what it is, right? Okay, this is what I know. You know what I mean? And that's the conversation. Look, this is what I know from this. You know what I mean? Like, do you see anything that matches up? How does this person interact with you? How do they make you feel? I mean, because really when it comes down to it, it's about how do you make my daughters or my son feel about them? Are you uplifting them? Are you encouraging them? Or do they feel like you're holding them back? Or you're muffling who they really want to be. Like, because those are more the questions that I'm gonna have with my children. Is do you feel like you can grow into the person that you want to be in this relationship, or do you have to sacrifice something? Because at that point, you would hope they don't have any kids that play a part in that decision, um, because that makes it a little bit harder. But if they are by themselves, it's just like, okay, well, is this somebody that you can grow your dreams with? You know what I mean? Because they might have a ceiling where they can't, where you're trying to pull them to a place they have no desire to go, right? And then it's going to cause even more problems because you're gonna get there, but then it's going to be like this.
Two different worlds.
Yes, two different worlds, right? You know, and then it becomes a point where it's just like, oh, you too good, or not necessarily saying you too good, but it's just like you you just want more, right? And they're happy with where they are. And I think that honestly should, if you have conversations and you really have tough conversations and you're not at that physical level, and as far as sex or that how they look or the status that they have, if you can toss all that stuff to the side, right, and you're dealing with the characteristics and the person, the character and the personality, I think you get all of that stuff out of the way before you even get to that.
That's a key thing before the intimacy, the physical intimacy come in. You know, and you got the rest of your life for that, man. Right. Take your time on that. And that actually leads me up to the next thing, man. When you talk about sex, we definitely believe that it's something that should be reserved for marriage. Right. We believe that it should be reserved for marriage. But we, you know, being married and being married, being entrepreneurs, being adults, in careers, it takes a lot to keep that candle lit. You know what I mean? When it comes to sex and things like that. What do you feel is a healthy sexual relationship in a marriage? Like how many times a week or a month do you think a couple every day? Nah. Man, I just got tired of thinking about this.
Yeah, that's great. That's great how that does change over. You know what I mean? That change.
That was the time.
Yeah, like because life. But like honestly, like on a weekly basis. hmm,
And we're talking in general. We're not talking about personal. We just
I'd say a healthy probably like 1 to 3 times.
1 to 3 times.
Yeah.
1 to 3 times. I think that's reasonable. Now if you're equally yoked,
Right.
and we do, some people have higher sex drive than others. And for some people have to be mentally stimulated before they can have sex, and some people can just do it as a physical act, and it's a stress reliever. So if you got two people, let's say you have a demanding job, a demanding career, you tired out, and you have to be mentally stimulated, then you're going to be less inclined to want to do it. Where somebody else, your counterpart, might come home stressed out and say, "Yo, I just need to,"
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I think that's where that compromise and that the word healthy, come in, play, because sometimes you have to say, okay, this is what my partner needs today, and I'm gonna do it.
Right.
So I think 1 to 3 times is reasonable. And then there's times where hey, the kids gone, got a house to ourselves. This is our week,
Right.
and we try to make you got to try to make the best of it the whole week. But I think it's important, really important. But I don't think it holds the same importance did as it does starting out.
Right.
Because intimacy comes in so many forms.
Right.
Sometimes I watch a lot of older couples now. You ever see a couple in a pickup truck and they got armrests flipped up, the lady sitting right next under the man,
Yep. Yep.
and they ride, and that's intimate for them, and they could just ride and ride all through town, and
Yep.
oh man, you can see the love,
Right.
But looking at them, you can tell they're not going home.
Well, and then that's the important thing of what I mean, being married to your best friend.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because at some point in time, what I mean, well, you might not be able to do 1 to 3, might not be able to do 1 to 2, might be down to 1, might be once a month. You know what I mean? Like it as you get older, I mean, I don't know how that works, but like at some point in time, you begin to realize how important the friendship part of it is. Because like you said, you can be intimate in a lot of different ways. It could just be touching, it could be kissing, it could so for you young people watching this, intimacy, uh, one of the deepest form of intimacy can actually be conversation.
Oh yeah,
Like like the connecting of the mind.
that can bring you closer than anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah. That can bring you closer than anything else.
for sure.
But it's definitely important to um not what they call it in the Bible, they call it render due benevolence. I mean, you gotta give it up, man. You gotta give it up, men and women. You gotta give it up. You know what I mean? So yeah.
And you gotta know your part. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you gotta know your part. You know what I mean? If you the one, or she the one always asking, you know what I mean? You gotta flip it up sometimes. You know what I mean? You gotta ask. You know what I mean?
Man, I got a headache.
Yeah.
Headache
You
tonight.
got it back.
It happens.
It does. Yeah, it does. This is just jokes written by.
Right.
Um, but nah. So like to wrap this up, Troy, you was talking about you had a real estate question a little bit earlier.
Yeah, because I'm talking to a lot of first time home buyers. I get asked this a lot because I don't know if it's due to price or due to like inventory, but a lot of first time home buyers, they tend to look at fixer uppers for either foreclosures or fixer uppers. And depending on the financing and things like that, I know that's not always the way to go. But is that a way? I mean, is that a good place for first time home buyer to look?
So I would say that generally no, foreclosure is not a good place for a first time home buyer to look, just because banks don't typically do any repairs, right? The first time home buyers typically don't have a lot of cash. They're using a USDA loan, which is 0%, down, or FHA loan, which is 3.5%. And usually that's as much as people have saved up, for to buy a house. That which would in our market, it's anywhere from like 8 to 12,000, right? That they would have saved up, and then they usually need some seller concessions. Which most times, a foreclosure or bank-owned property, they're not offering any seller concessions. So, I would say, if you're a first-time home buyer and you're looking at something at an entry level, I would be looking at something that is at the lower, whatever the lowest price point you can get into, and the house has the potential to be more than what it is, right? So it might need fresh coated paint, it might need carpet, but the same way that as long as it can get through the FHA appraisal process, which there's an inspection part of the FHA appraisal where it has to, can't have exposed lead-based paint. It has steps, it has to have rails, the windows have to work, heat has to work. Hot water stuff has to work. So they make sure that your basic necessities and needs for home ownership are met. but it could have two dated bathrooms, with the pink flamingo tile.
Right.
It could have paneling on the walls, which a new buyer is not going to want to, uh, not necessarily want to have, because when you're looking at Instagram and looking at houses, everything look nice and clean, and so you want to try to look for something that you can make look like that.
Right. So you can go into that with us, stay fixing up mine's like, but still get it at a good price point. But that takes vision.
It takes vision. You have to be able to, and that allows you to build equity in it too.
Oh, yeah.
Right. As I'm talking, there is one way that you can get into a foreclosure. It's called an FHA 203K loan, which basically you still have to have a 3.5% down, but they'll take, like, it was a foreclosure home that need to be fixed up. You get this special appraisal from somebody who's certified at FHA 203K, and they give the appraisal based off of the repairs that you would do, but you have to have a contractor that's FHA certified, right? And so if that contractor is FHA certified, then they'll lend you the money to get to buy the house, but they'll pay the contractor in stages based on the repairs that they'll do. And so that's a way for you to be able to get into a foreclosure.
Is that still one separate loan, or is that two separate loans?
No, it's one separate loan, one purchase price.
Okay.
So let's just say you bought the house for 150, and you were doing $50,000 worth of repairs. Your loan would be 200,000, right? And so you would go to closing on the house, you buy the house, and then the contractor would get paid that additional
increments as the work
gets done. Once the work gets completed, that FHA appraiser comes back out, certifies all the work was done to the specs that they said they were going to do, and then that turns into your final loan. You don't have to go to settlement again. It's just one settlement. After that FHA appraiser signs off, it's your regular loan.
Good to know. Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So that's all we got for you guys tonight. We appreciate you tuning in. And as always, what they're supposed to do, Troy,
Man, like, share, subscribe. Hit us up on all the socials, man. And we're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
You know where to find us, man.
Tap in,
man. Tap in.
Thanks, so